Sometimes we like to answer questions here on the show by pulling in one of our guests. And that's what I did with our friend Jonathan Haidt. He's going to help me answer a question today. And after you listen to this, be sure to listen to the full episode with Jonathan Haidt from last week's show, where we talk about a lot of subjects, technological, what the future is going to look like, anxiety among the population. I mean, all kinds of things. Just check it out from last week. Jon, thanks for doing this today.
Russell, what a pleasure. I always enjoy talking with you.
And our producer, Leslie Thompson, has the question. Leslie, what are we talking about today?
I do have a question, and I confess, as the mother of a 4-year-old, this question rose to the top of the inbox when I saw it. So I thought this would be perfect for when we have Jon on the show. So the question says, I'm a millennial parent, and it's important to me that my children spend time with their grandparents, of course. But it's evident that the screen addiction I've worked to overcome has its roots in my upbringing, and my mother's own addiction becomes her go-to time filler when my children are with her for an extended time, like a weekend visit. And she started a habit of letting my kids watch YouTube on her phone, which is not something we do in our house. I've asked her to keep the phone away, but it does not happen. How harmful is this periodical YouTube device-driven screen time? And how hard should I push to keep the boundaries set?
Wow. Yeah, that is such a good question, because I think what it gets across is that this isn't just a problem for kids. This is a problem for all of us. These things, the social media in particular and YouTube, they're designed to keep us engaged. So I think the first step is you have to be a little understanding and forgiving of everybody in this, because now we're beginning to understand what this is all about. But 10 years ago, we didn't know. People developed habits. We really didn't know how bad this was for our kids. I would also say that if you've got good digital habits at home, and your kid is spending, visiting grandma a couple days a month and watching YouTube during that time, I wouldn't worry about that. That's not going to be so harmful. It's really about the habits. And when these things, if a kid gets on YouTube, if you let them, they'll stay on for many hours. Our kids are on average spending 5 hours a day on social media, including YouTube, TikTok, Instagram. 5 hours a day. That's the average. So, a little here and there isn't gonna really do damage. Focus on getting the habits right. And the other thing I would say is, it's so hard to change ourselves. Like, we're all wrestling with this. It's really hard to change someone else. Like to try to get someone else to give up an addiction, especially when it's your mother. It's hard enough. We have some control over our parents. We don't have a lot of control over over our kids. We don't have much control over our parents. So while I totally sympathize, and a lot of people are in this situation because, even you try to do the right thing in your own home, but the rest of the world is stuck on this stuff. So it's hard, but try to draw boundaries at home and just talk with other people to see if they're willing to improve the environment.
Jon, have you seen any strategies for sort of explaining to somebody really quickly why you have these boundaries? I think that might be part of the problem, is that grandma here might just think, what harm does this do?
Right. I tend to then go, explain the whole book and explain all the reasons why. And that's probably not a very effective strategy for your listeners.
Christmas gift. The next Christmas gift.
Yeah, that's right. Right. Yeah. Here, I'll just give you this book and you can read it yourself. But I think there's an interesting technique called the positive no, by a woman named Caroline Webb, a friend of mine who wrote this wonderful book, How to Have a Good Day. And I use it all the time in my email. The idea of the positive no is this: rather than like no, I'm too busy. No, you shouldn't do that. You start by saying what you're saying yes to. So you start by saying, thanks for this invitation. This looks like a really great event. Now, I'm really excited that I have a chance to do this book, and I'm doing this thing, and so this takes on my time. So, while I won't be able to help you with that, but I really wish you well. And it's amazing. It just goes down so much easier when you start by saying what you're saying yes to. And then people they're rooting for you. And So, and the same thing here. I guess, what you might try is rather than saying, don't go corrupting my kid with so you say, I'm really trying to raise my child to be able to pay attention. And, kids these days, they're just so distracted. It's so hard for them to focus. So I'm really working to help Billy become someone who can read books and hold conversations. And so I'm trying to keep him away from especially this short stuff. The short stuff is really so bad. So I was wondering, when he's over at your house, if you just, if you want to watch a movie with him, like that's okay. Movies, a long story, that's fine. But like, I'm really hopeful that we can keep him away from the short video or whatever, something like that. Start by giving a positive vision and then make your request about why you want them to not do something.
Yeah, because it seems there are two conflicting things going on here. And one of them is really, really good, which is that there's grandparents involved in this kid's life, which is exactly what you want. And so the fact that the grandma is wanting to spend time with the grandson and he has that connection, that's great. I agree with you. I wouldn't make it a complete hill to die on. It might kind of be like if you're trying to have healthy nutrition for your child and grandma keeps serving up candy. You can talk to her and say, hey, we're trying to watch this for him. But at the end of the day, you can be glad that grandma's in his life.
That's right. Oh, gosh. And this reminds me of a really touching or sad quote that I have in my book from a young man who said, he's 21 years old when he said this to me. He said, I really wish that I had gotten to know my grandfather before he died instead of always playing video games when he came over to visit. And so that's the case where the kid missed out on this important relationship because of his digital habit. But here we seem to have a case of a kid missing out on a relationship with his grandmother because of the grandmother's digital habit. So there may be some way to, without quite wanting to say, Mom, I want you to stop, I want you to get to know him before you die. Like, okay, that's a little rough, but that's the idea.
Well, listeners, if you have a question, be sure to send it to us at questions@russellmoore.com.